Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back. Warcrux here, gonna bring you my Magicka DK PvP build. I've played a shit ton out of this. I went through every possible combination of sets that you can possibly go through, and I finally narrowed down what works best for me, what does the most damage, and what overall I think is best. So, without further ado, fellas, we're gonna hop right into it. So, taking a look at the character sheet, mind you, 413 CP, some of the defensive stats will be higher, such as spell resistance and critical resistance once I have more champion points. So here's the base stats. Buffed up with the pots we're going to be using. Here's what you can be looking forward to. Damage 2k recovery, spell damage, max mag, back bar. This goes even higher with our blood spawn proc. I already spoiled one of the sets, but I mean this is a DK, so a blood spawn set is probably the most widely used, and it should be helps with sustain, damage, and tankiness all at the same time. So okay, so as far as races are concerned, we are Dunmer, Dark Elf. I prefer Dark Elf over any other race because we don't need much more tankiness and sustain that the Breton offers. The DK gives you obviously really good other passives, such as immune to burning, a lot more immunity to fire. In case you did decide to run vampire in this build, the Dark Elf helps offset that resist negative resistance to fire, and also you get spell damage. And more importantly, you do get stamina also from the passives, which allows you more flexibility when it comes to what food and or drinks you're going to be running. For this build personally, I prefer Disastrous Bloody Mara. This is the gold drink. It's just like Bloody Mara, except it gives you some health recovery, which is pretty good. Health recovery is kind of underrated. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is a lot more passive healing coming out, compared to what you would have if, for example, if you ran Vampire or whatever, you'd only have like 200 health recovery. Compare that to 850. I mean, it's pretty big difference. So it's like a passive 600 heal every 2 seconds. Not too shabby. For the Mundus to run the Mage, we are running a max Mage build. Point being, is a lot of you guys are not gonna like the back bar. I can tell you right now, but a lot of trial and error. I have plenty of clips at the end, fellas. You're really gonna like them. It's a lot better than my Sorkin. I can tell you that right now. I've invested a lot more time into this DK build. I've grinded up all the skills that you need. So just hear me out when we start going over the skills. Okay. All right. So with that being said, sets we're running. One of the sets we're running is spinners. It's very important to have as much penetration as you can. When you're a max CP, you're going to have 20,000 spell penetration. With the Mundus, the light armor, the skills, and the set that we use, 20,000 is absolutely absurd. You don't have to rely on procs. You don't have to rely on pretty much anything. 20,000 spell pen is it scales exponentially when you're against people who's running like 30, 40k. Tanks or even medium armor builds are hitting your really high numbers. The higher resistance they have, the more beneficial this set's going to be. This is the best damage set in the game. It just is. I've tested Burning Spellweave, know how to Burning Spellweave. I've also tested Spinner's Sternhome. So trust me when I say I've spent a lot of money on this build. So trust me when I say that this is the most damage you're going to get. Even with a Burning Spellweave proc, everything maxed out in spell damage. I was running 5k spell damage. Even with all said and done, Spinners still hits harder every single time with the Sharpen trait. So that kind of debunks anything. The only drawback, you do have a little bit lower spell damage, which means your healing is a little bit lower, but we're not really relying on heals too much. I'll explain more once you go over the back bar. You guys are going to hate it. Next up we're running, this is exclusively on the back bar, okay? We're running 2-piece willpower, defending trait. The reason we're running this is because we need the max match on our back bar, running damn near 48k, which, and gives you a bigger rewards, cough cough. Alternatively, you could run Potentus. I'm not sure if I have it with me. I do not, but Potentus gives you a flat 5% damage mitigation from players on your back bar. It's entirely up to you how you want to run it. I like running the max match just because it's going to make our awards bigger. And when you go to the front bar, you'll actually benefit from the award being larger instead of not benefiting from Potentus because it's only on your back bar. Running poisons. The reason running poisons, you're not going to get a lot of procs off. to be honest. You're allowed attacking your back bar, but in case you do, they did change the combustion passive. It's pretty good now. There's no global cooldown, so anytime you proc burning, you get Magicka. Anytime you proc a poison, you get stamina. So that's what that's there for, pretty much. Next up, we're running, last but not least, the Bright Throat. This is the most stat-heavy set Magicka builds can run. It's it's just great on every single build that you run. I tried running Burning Spellweed, Warlock, Potentis, Bloodspawn, all the combinations. Having this high of magic recovery all the time is just really great. I really hate relying on procs, such as Lich or Warlock, because you're relying on that proc way too much. Lich isn't really a viable alternative because you can be hit with Siphoner, which is going to greatly degrade your proc. People's hitting you like 10% Siphoners, that's going to knock off another 10% of your Lich proc. If you do Warlock, you kind of sit around 1000 magic recovery, and to me, that's just not enough passive recovery to feel comfortable using. Yeah, you get the proc, but kind of in between battles or fights or whatever, you're just kind of sitting there with 1000 magic recovery, and you're not getting much shit back, and it's really annoying. You can compensate that with other skills, but rambled on that too long. We'll go on the rest. Impin on everything. Try stats on the big pieces. You need the health. You need the stamina. This is a DK. DKs probably benefit from all three pools the most. So even if you wanted to, even those small pieces, you could put the prismatic glyphs on, but that's way too expensive. Bloodspawn, if you guys aren't familiar with what it is, I've tried other sets. I've tried Pyre Skeleton. I've tried Scoria. You do not need any burst. Do not run Scoria. Like this build is insane. Um, you'll see. We're running a different Morph Whip than what people typically run, and it does change up the playstyle quite a bit. But if you're able to master it and practice it a lot, it's much better. DKs tend to lack burst sometimes, and this kind of makes up for that. Alright, Bloodspawn, like I said, Impin. Jewelry, running all recovery. You could probably toss on one reduced cost if you're not a Breton. I mean, you can run Breton if you want, but I just like having the recovery. I like to over sustain because nothing's worse than being in a 1vx situation and you're just right there, you're about to kill them, you're just out of resources. And there's really no point in that. That's the worst feeling of dying, is just being out of resources. So I like to overcompensate. Alright, so skills. Um, First skill running is Ellie Drain. Inflicts some of that major breach, reducing their spell resistance by 5200, but more importantly, it gives you magic still. So if you pop a Burning Embers with someone who's got Ellie Drain on, you're getting essentially 300 recovery, right? So every 1 second this shit can proc. Do the math, 600 every 2 seconds, 300 recovery. So really great, really softens up your opponents. If you guys don't know, that 5280 translates into about 10% more damage, assuming they have the resistances to mitigate. So, and it's free to cast. So, next skill, we're running Shattering Rocks instead of Fossilize. The reason we're running this is, through my experience playtesting this quite a lot, most people's instincts, as soon as they get Fossilized, they're going to roll dodge anyway. So the immobilization effect that you get after the CC breaks is kind of wasted. And since we're not running Power Lash, you even more so don't need it. So this actually heals you quite a lot. Everything buffed up, that's like a 7k heal or 3500 in Cyrodiil. It's really good. It's just a great passive healing. You stun them, they're going to heal you. It's pretty good compared to Fossilize, which roots them. They're just a roll dodge anyway. So next, Flames of Oblivion. You can more or less use this as a spammable sometimes. You don't necessarily just have to keep whipping. This is really cheap. It gives you your crit that you need on your front bar. Does a lot of damage. Just gets up to like 7500 when you're buffed, something like that. Next, Molten Whip. This is your bread and butter. This is hands down probably one of the most easiest setup burst combos in the game. Essentially, when you use an Ardent Flame ability, you gain stacks of a Seething Fury, they call it, For each stack, you do 33% more damage. You can stack this up to 3 times. It's really easy to proc. So, for example, let's just go ahead and buff up. I'll show you what the tooltip gets up to. And keep in mind, we're running super high spell penetration. So this tooltip is actually going to be even higher if you actually run Nernhoned or, what have you. So this is an 18k whip. It only costs 2k. It's super fucking easy to proc. Ridiculously easy to proc. Okay. So essentially, what I kind of like to do, obviously have all your dots and shit up that you have, right? So I like to lead off by Burning Embers, maybe Light Attack Weave once. Light Attack Weave, you can almost use the Flames of Oblivion as a spammable, and you just boom. That's all you have to do. You could run Engulfing on the front. I suggest that you don't. Engulfing costs a lot, and we'll go over that in just a second. So, uh, last skill here on our main bar is Burning Embers. Keep this up on fucking everyone as much as you can. It's a great healer, inflicts them with the burning effect, which procs our combustion passive, giving you Magicka back. So essentially, every time you cast this, you're knocking off 500 of that Magicka cost. So this skill essentially costs 2173. Ultimate Ferocious Leap. You're fool if you don't run this on DK. In my opinion, just run it for the love of God. Like, don't get fancy. Keep in mind, Molten Whip hits about as hard as Ferocious Leap. So, it's like getting hit with 2 leaps when you actually do have this shit procced. So, moral of the story is, have all your shit procced. If you want to, kind of wind up a semi-heavy attack into a leap, into a Molten Whip, and you'll usually get another whip off after that. They're fucking dead. There's not many people that live the combo. And the best part is you're not relying on Burning Spellweave to proc. No proc sets, so as soon as you swap to your front bar with spinners, it's going to do the damages as it does. Okay, back bar. This is where you guys are going to flame me. I know what's coming. Alright, so first skill we're running, Channeled Acceleration. This is from the Sigic Order skill line. Right, sure. The reason I like Channeled over the Instacast one, first of all, the cost gets reduced, okay? Having Major Expedition for 12 seconds is huge, and you also get Mountain Force for 36 seconds. The reason I don't mind the cast is because you have a passive called Deliberation, which actually gives you major protection while you're casting it. You can actually use this as a damage mitigation tactic as well. If you know a meteor's coming or whatever, you don't feel like blocking it. If you know the burst is coming, right? You can just pop Channel Acceleration and you're immediately taking 30% less damage the whole time. So you pop Wings, Ward, Channel Acceleration, and you're damn near unkillable. Of course, unless they bash you or whatever. But I mean, it's a 1.3 second cast time. Most people are, too brain dead to even react. Even if they do bash you, it makes you CC immune, and you just fucking cast it anyway, and you're Audi 5000. Another passive, Concentrated Barrier. While you're on your back bar, you get a damage shield buff. It's pretty dope. Really helps. Don't underutilize that. Next skill we're running, don't hate me, it's Dampen Magic. This very expensive spell, doesn't really matter with our recovery. The reason I like running this, okay, we're sitting at 47.7k max. That's a huge ass damage shield. And you combine that with your wings, it's essentially having 2 wards, okay? Your wings mitigate damage by 50% from projectiles. Dampen, you notice on the back bar, we're not running Coagulate. We're not running this. I'm sorry, fellas, but I tried just running Coag, not Dampen, and it seems like every fucking fight I'm in, I'm getting hit with a minor or major defile somehow. So I'm on my back bar, I'm at 20% health, I pop a Coag, guess how much that fucking heals for? 5100 crit. And that's unreliable, fellas. I hate to, a lot of people. The change of this skill was good. Don't get me wrong, but if you're getting hit with defiles like pretty much all the time, that you just can't, you just cannot get your health back up. You just can't. Whereas if you go with dampen, it's just more reliable. You're always getting this essentially 11k ward plus. You know, in Cyrodiil, I mean, this goes up to almost 11k. It's like 10.9 something or whatever, but um, and it costs like 200 more, whatever. This is a much more reliable skill than Coag will ever be. Now, if you had a super high health pool like 35k, yeah, obviously Coag would be better. But since we're running around 25k in Cyrodiil, Dampen is just the way to go. The clips you're gonna see at the end is all the combinations on the back bar you can possibly use. This is what I like to use. The only drawback to running Dampen is that you do not have a reliable self heal when no one's around. It's very important that you either have pots to compensate or you're fighting. If you're not fighting, you're not healing. And that's also one of the reasons I'm running Disastrous Bloody Mars, because you do get more health recovery. So when you're out of combat, you actually have a way to get some of your health and shit back. Now, there's a little bit different playstyle you can use. You can use Meditate or Deep Thought instead of Challenge Acceleration. I'm telling you guys right now, if you do not have Major Expedition or some sort of immobilization remove or chase down or not using chains, you're going to get shit on with a DK. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Okay, I'm running 420 CP. I'm actually playing in CP campaigns now. I'm packing kids up left and right. You'll see clips at the end. I cannot wait till I get the other 400 or so to really show you guys how great this build can be. So enough boasting about it. So we'll go on to the next skill. We got Dragonfire skill. This is the most underrated skill in the game, in my opinion. Most people use the other one, which gives you snare immunity for 2 seconds. You already get that with roll dodge. Why the fuck would you run that anyway? So what this does, notice on the tooltip, right? So let's take a look at Flames of Oblivion just for a second. 6900, correct? Let's just go and buff it up. 7800, right? So let's go to wings. 7400. Keep in mind, Flames of Oblivion procs every 5 seconds. Look how often this can proc. Every half second. So look at that as, hey, every half second I'm hitting someone with a Flames of Oblivion proc. This is so good to detour people from attacking you, to soften squishy targets up like Sork running double wards. When they're light attack weaving you, they're hitting themselves for a shit ton in the process, and that's what gives you the turnaround capability. The technique, the turn and burn technique that they say. I may actually call this build the turn and burn. So this skill is highly underrated. I suggest you guys run it. You'll be surprised how many people kill themselves with this. Absolutely kill themselves. I see this critting all the time for 4K. And, you may not realize it's coming. So if you're light attack weaving, 3-4 attacks hit you, you're like, oh shit, that's like 10k worth of damage come out of nowhere, and before you can even realize, you're being leapt, molten whipped, and you're dead. This is a really good turnaround skill. I highly suggest you guys try using it. Next is just our Major Resolve. This is our resistance buff. I suggest every class have one of these. If you're not running Chutins or something like that, you have to have this. Plus, applies a dot, and you deal damage to attackers as well. It kind of coincides with Dragonfire skills, so these two skills synergize really well. Last skill in the back bar is Engulfing Flames. This is not too expensive. You can argue to have this on your front bar and put Fossilize on your back bar. To be honest with you, I don't really use Engulfing Flames a whole hell of a lot. I mean, you definitely can. It just really depends. You could swap, you could put it here instead of Shattering Rocks. Have everything on your front bar, so your flames could proc Molten Whip, Burning Immerse proc Molten Whip, and also Engulfing Flames proc Molten Whip. Entirely up to you. I just prefer to have Engulfing on the back bar. Usually when you're going in, you'll apply a ward, hit your wings. Before you swap to your front bar, you're Engulfing Flames. And there you go. It's just my playstyle, really, fellas. Really doesn't matter. Last but not least, Temporal Guard. Gives you minor protection on your back guard from Sigil Order skill line. Pretty essential, in my opinion. I hate to say that something's pay to win, but that Sigil Order skill line is, it's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good. Okay, so a couple other things to run over are the potions we're using. So we're going through tri-stats, of course. Usually run Essence of Detection. Night Blades are a pain in our ass on this build since we don't have any gap closers. So Essence of Detection is really helpful to pull those cocksuckers out of stealth. It's really frustrating trying to chase them down and using engulfing flames and volatile armor to pull them out of stealth, and they just re-stealth back up. It's very important to have these. This gives us our spell damage buff and also major intellect. And if you got the money, Essence of Spell Power. I kind of hate this is overkill. It gives you the spell crit as well. It's pretty wasted, but there's no potion combination to give you your major intellect, your major sorcery, and health. Ideally, that's what you would want to run, but there's no such combination. If there is, please tell me in the comments because I'm completely in the dark on that. It'd be really nice to have. So let's go over champion points real quick. Keep in mind, I have like half the champion points as everyone else. So this will change a little bit. I'll tell you where you want to put your points. Mastered Arms, you want this at 23%. Elemental Expert, you want this at 12 or 13%. Elfborn, you want this at 20%. Toss the rest of your points in Spell Erosion. You should have about 4,200 extra spell penetration. That's where you get your 20k spell pen from on this build. Absolutely absurd. You'll be surprised how hard you actually hit. You can't go by tooltips. Tooltips are very misleading when it comes to actual damage, fellas. You just trust me on this one. Spell penetration is probably your most important asset. I don't have any points in Thaumaturge. This is a super bursty build. I mean, you can put points in here. It's a matter of preference, but the idea is to get your Molten proc, turn and burn, just delete people, delete people, delete people. I mean, that's pretty much how this build works. It's not whittling them down. It's not applying constant damage. I mean, this is a bursty build, so play it as such. Next, Ironclad usually have this at 20%. I usually have this around. I usually keep this around 2,500. It's close. Resistance you want over 1,000. Thick skinned. This shit needs to be 7% each. Hardy and Elemental Defender. Thick skin's fine where it's at. You can possibly go to 15%. Get this up to 2,500. Toss rest your points in the bash, and it should be around 19-20% if memory serves. Green tree is entirely up to you guys. 1 point in Siphoner just for the value of having a debuff on your opponent. Warlord had this up to 20%. Arcanus 12%. That's fine. Have Shadow Warden Tumbling up to 20%. You're going to be using these two a lot. The remaining points I would possibly put it into Sprinter. Sprinter is very good because you'll be running a lot on this build. And that's pretty much it. You can put more points into reduce cost or Siphoner when you'll have like 30 or so CP left over. So it's up to you where you want to put. Green tree's not too important. The blue tree, however, is. Okay, guys. One thing I did miss is the trade on the shield. Obviously sturdy just for blocking our back bar. A couple things to note: passives that you need if you're kind of low on CP. You don't want to invest a lot. Medicinal use, very important. This keeps our major sorcery buff up 100% of the time. Dark, you want your passives. You want your Undaunted. Sigic we went over. Fighters Gale Banish the Wicked is really good. A lot of people running Vampire. You get a lot of ult back when you kill them. So you get your ult back quicker, more sustain, more burst. So keep that in mind. Heavy Armor, running Juggernaut. Just for the health. Medium Armor, if you got the points, you can put them in Windwalker and Athletics. It's whatever. Light Armor, we'll try to get all your passives. Sword and Board. Fortress, Sword and Board, and Deflect Bolts if you can. You don't really have to worry about Eternal Mountain. Save your 2 points there. Need the rest passives there. Skills, obviously, you probably need all these passives. And Ardent Flame, you definitely need all these fuckers. I think that about does it for the build, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the clips at the end. Bear with me, some of them are in Battlegrounds. I know some of you guys frown upon on stuff done in Battlegrounds and no CP, but keep in mind, no CP is a lot harder to 1vx in my opinion, because everyone's on the same playing stage. Battlegrounds kind of hit and miss with the whole MMR bracket. I know there's like somehow skill based matchmaking. It's kind of fucked up, but I do have some open world clips as well. I hope you guys enjoy those, and hope you guys enjoy the build. I've spent a lot of money, a lot of time running this, and this is just what works best for me. You're more than welcome to change this all you want. You don't have to copy and paste this. So, with that being said, this has been Horcrux. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the build and take care. Peace.